Gemme Hickey is the president with Ending Clergy Abuse, the global board of directors. They survive sexual abuse at the hands of a Catholic priest. Gemme is from Newfoundland, but they're in the Vatican today. And my guest, it's wonderful to welcome you back to the program. Gemme, thanks for being here.
Heather, thanks for having me. Wonderful to speak with you again.
Let me begin with why you've made the trip. Why are you at the Vatican at this time? Why is it important?
Because this is a pivotal time for the Catholic Church, and one where we're looking ahead, and we want the next Pope to build on the attempts that Francis made to actually prioritize the safety of children and vulnerable adults over the protection of the institution. And I've been here now many times to Rome. This is probably my 5th trip in the last year. We've been working with the Pontifical Gregorian University with theologians there to revise canon law in June. We were hoping to present that. Pope Francis passed on. And now we're looking ahead to the next Pope and trying to deliver our message ahead of the conclave so that they know where we stand, because we're not going to be patient any longer.
Gemme, did you have a chance prior to the cardinals going into the cloister, going into their sequestered time in the conclave, to speak with any of them? Notably, I would say maybe the greatest possible contenders, to make the case and to speak to them directly on the issue?
We've made some contact. I can't get into that right now, but I will say what's made the greatest impact is the open letter that I sent to the College of the Cardinals last week. And also this past week, I delivered 95 theses of survivors in the spirit of Reformation with Martin Luther to the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, the building that originally housed the Roman Inquisition. And so they received that document, and it was theses from survivors all over the world of our demands, what we want and what we want now. And so those documents did get through, and we're going to be here until the end, and we're going to be addressing media as well and do whatever we can to get the message out. I do have survivors coming from different parts of the world to join us today, and we have one here from Peru who's done amazing work down there. And our focus as well, because this is still happening. This is not an issue of the past. It's a clear and ever-present danger. It's happening everywhere, all over the world, still. And our focus now has been on developing countries. We did some great work in the Philippines, and we're focused on that because it's still, we have survivors who are trying to survive in their communities, and they're risking exile for speaking out against their rapist priests, because the church is paying for medicine and supplies for their village. So these are the choices that survivors are left with. It's horrible.
It's interesting, Gemme, when I was there for Pope Francis's funeral, we were having these discussions because so many of the crises that we have talked about in the Western world, they very well could have happened elsewhere in the world. We just don't know about them yet. So the fact that you're quite right to point out this is still going on and needs to be addressed further. Can I ask you, you heard Claire there, and I have another quote from a Vatican spokesman, that as they've had those congregational meetings before the conclave, they have discussed clerical sexual abuse, here's the quote, as a wound to be kept open. So they continue to be aware of it, to talk about it, to bring an end to it. So they're talking about it. And as you heard Claire reporting there earlier this morning, the importance of choosing a successor to Francis who will deal with this directly. Is that encouraging to you, that they are very much aware of what needs to be done?
They've been aware now for many, many, many years, even before it became out in the public. So we've had enough talk. It's time for action. Survivors deserve more than symbolic gestures. We deserve action, and action now. And back home where I'm from, Newfoundland and Labrador, we have a lot of dioceses that are going bankrupt. Parishioners are also bearing the burden, bearing the cost of the sins of our fathers through losing their churches to settle court cases. And so, we've suffered already. The wound has never closed. I don't know if it will. But what we need to see are some reforms. And what we want is for a universal law, through canon law, to be applied all over the world. So in 2002, the Pope made an exception for the U.S. bishops based on what happened in Boston and elsewhere in the United States. And we want that norm applied globally. So that's what we've been working on, and we're going to keep at that. And that's going to be on the forefront of our agenda.
So I've been reading a little bit about that. The true universal zero tolerance law, if we can put it in colloquial terms, sort of a one strike and you're out. If that comes to the fore, the priest is gone, not
That's right.
shuffled to another diocese or parish or anything like that. One strike and you're out. And this is what you're mainly looking for right now from the successor to Francis and the church?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, just a recent case in Canada, you know, Brother Edward English, he was in Mount Cashel. He served time for abusing boys back home. And then after jail time, he was moved to a Catholic church, or Catholic school rather, in British Columbia. And now I met with a lawyer who's representing more of his victims this past summer. So that's just one example. And you know, for every survivor that comes forward, there's thousands of others that haven't come forward. Many have settled outside of court because they've been forced or felt they had no other choice. I mean, there's so many of us. There's more of us than clergy. And we're coordinating now. We're coordinating. Every time I do an interview, people reach out. Groups are working together.
Right.
And that's what's going to happen in terms of the future, because it's going to be a coordinated strategy to hold the church to account.
Can I just ask you about another strategy? Not your group, but SNAP. That'll be a group that you know well. That Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests. That's the group known as SNAP. They've put up something for this, and I'm going to bring it up on the screen, called Conclave Watch, where they talk about any priests or cardinals talking about them, even those potential cardinals, if they've mismanaged or covered up for any sex crimes, making this all part of the discussion again to know about those who may indeed succeed Pope Francis. What do you think about this strategy and its efficacy?
SNAP is a partner of Ending Clergy Abuse, and we applaud their work. We've worked with them in the past. Right now, our focus has been working with Father Hans Zollner to look at canon law. But it's important to have those discussions on the forefront, because it's not just clergy who are abusing. It's also the bishops and cardinals who have covered it up. And so these types of discussions are important to have. And so I'm glad that SNAP is handling that, and we're focused on what we're doing, because together with coordinated strategies, even working from different angles in different places, that all makes a difference. And that's what it's going to take. We all need to come together, and we are. And so I'll look forward to seeing what comes out of this event and who the next Pope will be. And so we can meet with him. And that's what we're hoping for. We want the Pope, whoever the Pope is, to have a meeting with us and to talk about this issue face to face, so that we can work together. Because we have to work with people from within as well in order to combat clergy abuse. It's a global issue. And as I said, you know, it's happening all over the world, moving priests around. It's a present day issue. And so we really need to take this seriously so that no more harm can be caused. Because in fact, many of the abuse cases could have been prevented had the church handled this appropriately in the very beginning by not moving these people around.
Exactly.
And so, you know, let's move forward and hope for the best, but I'm cautiously optimistic, as you can understand, I'm sure.
I can, and I can from a number of conversations with you over the years, Gemma. Thank you for this one, and I'm just cognizant of the fact that over your shoulder I'm seeing St. Peter's Basilica, and you, as closely as anyone in the world, going to be watching who steps out onto that balcony, because for your future discussions, that will be so important. Thank you for the time. We will speak, I hope, after the Pope is chosen, and thanks for the thoughtful responses today. Gemme Hickey from there in St. Peter's Square.